Influencer dies on Tryfan Ridge. A travel influencer, 28, tragically dies after falling 60 feet on one of Britain's most dangerous mountains. Maria Eftimova, a 28-year-old travel influencer and extreme sports enthusiast, tragically lost her life after falling 60 feet from Tryfan, one of the Britain's deadliest mountains, while hiking with friends. Now let's deep dive into this AI podcast.
Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at sources you shared about a really quite tragic event, aren't we? A fatal accident on one of Britain's, well, most notorious mountains.
Yes, it's a tough one. It really hits you, that contrast. You have this young, really vibrant person, sharing her adventures online, loving extreme sports.
Right.
And then this sudden awful end on a mountain she actually knew, a place known for being dangerous.
Exactly. So our goal here in this deep dive is to use the material you've provided to unpack what happened, the circumstances around Maria Eftimova's accident on Tryfan.
We want to understand who she was, what the sources actually say happened that day.
And maybe what bigger picture emerges about mountain safety, about risk.
And for you, listening in, the aim is, well, to help you get a clear, solid understanding of this whole situation, pulling out the key info from the sources without getting bogged down.
Right. So let's start with Maria herself, Maria Eftimova. What do the sources tell us about her? She was young, just 28.
Yeah, 28. An engineering student at the University of Salford living over in St. Helens.
And the sources really paint a picture of someone full of life.
Oh, definitely. They mention her as a travel influencer. Quite popular, too. Over 10,000 followers. A real thrill seeker.
Loved extreme sports, nature.
Snowboarding was apparently her favorite.
Yeah.
She was even planning a trip to Austria for it. Surfing, too. And obviously, mountain climbing.
And she wasn't inexperienced. The sources mention a recent ice climbing course in Norway.
That's a key point. They specifically describe her as an experienced climber. And crucially, she'd climbed Tryfan before. Multiple times, actually.
So this wasn't her first encounter with this specific mountain.
Not at all.
Okay, so we have an experienced climber familiar with the mountain, and the sources say she joined a group for this climb.
Yeah, about 18 people, it seems, found them through one of those Facebook outdoor adventure groups. The climb was on February 22nd.
Right. Now let's talk about the mountain itself, Tryfan. The sources are pretty blunt about its reputation.
They really are. It's, a 3,000-foot peak in Snowdonia, North Wales. And, yeah, known for being tough. Steep, rocky ridges, dangerous terrain.
It's labeled one of Britain's most dangerous climbs in the material.
And that statistic sticks with you. It claims about 2 lives each year, according to the sources. That tells you something.
Definitely. And the accident happened in a specific area.
Yes, Tryfan's North Ridge. Mountain rescue, in the sources, call it a notoriously dangerous spot, just covered in steep, rocky sections and cliffs.
And the sources mention the group split up during the climb.
Yeah, into 2 smaller parties while they were making their way up.
Okay, so the fall itself happened while she was scrambling up on that North Ridge.
Right. And scrambling, for anyone listening who might not know, it's basically using your hands and feet to climb up steep rock. It's maybe less technical than sheer rock climbing, but needs focus, balance.
Especially when you're exposed on a ridge like that.
Exactly. Skill and concentration are vital.
The descriptions from witnesses in the sources are just harrowing. Neil Oakes, who was apparently climbing ahead of her.
Yeah, he saw her tumbling through the air below me. Said he heard shouting, "No, no, no." Just awful.
And another hiker, Harry Jones, he saw her slip trying to pull herself onto a ledge. His words were, he saw her flying over the top of my head and down the mountainside.
God, those accounts really bring home how sudden, how terrifying it must have been.
And the timeline mentioned in the sources is so jarring. There's apparently a video of the group, doing a playful Mexican wave near the summit.
Yeah, a moment of fun, camaraderie.
Taken only about 30 minutes before the fall. That shift from that moment to what happened next is just hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
So after the fall, what happened? The response?
It was immediate, according to the sources. Harry Jones, the witness, he called emergency services right away, even though he must have been in shock.
Understandably.
And the Ogwen Valley Mountain Rescue Team got there fast, along with a rescue helicopter. A swift response.
But tragically, the sources confirm it wasn't enough. Despite the efforts, Maria couldn't be saved.
No. The injuries from the fall were too severe. Multiple injuries, the sources state.
Then came the formal investigation, the inquest.
Right? Led by the Northwest Wales senior coroner, Kate Robertson. And the ruling, based on the sources, was accidental death.
Accidental death. Did the sources give specifics on how the coroner determined it happened?
They did. It's quite specific. The finding was that she slipped when her heel gave way. She was reaching for a handhold. Her heel slipped, and that caused the fall.
Her heel gave way.
Yeah. Down the cliffside, where she apparently struck a ledge.
Wow. So it wasn't framed as like a lack of skill or anything, given her experience.
No, that's what's striking in the sources. It points to that specific moment, a heel slipping, a physical misstep, if you like, on terrain that just offers no second chances, not a lack of experience being cited as the cause.
That's it, yeah. The personal toll obviously is immense. The sources talk about her friends being devastated.
Heartbroken. There's a quote from one friend, Nargesi El Haibo, who was apparently there, really poignant, talking about the moments just before and saying she'd never take the mountains for granted again.
You can only imagine. And her father, Rosen Eftimov, the sources mention the phone call.
Yeah, unimaginable. He described her as, bright, ambitious, really passionate about her engineering, but also just loving the outdoors.
There was a fundraiser set up, too, the sources mentioned.
Yes, in her memory. The description quoted in the sources really captures her spirit, talking about her vibrant personality and how her energy and aura touched and uplifted all around her, aiming to help the family and just honor her love for life.
And this didn't happen in isolation, did it? The sources mention another tragedy around the same time.
That's right. It was the second fatality involving a woman in Snowdonia within just a week. Dr. Charlotte Crook died on Glider Fac, which is nearby, only 6 days earlier.
So 2 tragic events so close together. How did the community react, according to the sources?
Understandably shaken. The outdoor community, climbers, the sources mentioned calls for, more awareness. Awareness of the specific risks of scrambling and climbing on those Snowdonia peaks.
Especially exposed ridges like Tryfan's north face where this happened.
Exactly, a reminder of the dangers.
And Maria's legacy. How do the sources frame that?
They talk about her life, though short, being an inspiration. Someone remembered by fellow adventurers for living fully, loving deeply, just embracing everything.
So, stepping back and looking at all the information from the sources we've covered, we've seen this vibrant person, Maria.
Yeah, her passion, her experience.
Contrasted with the very real dangers of a mountain like Tryfan, especially that North Ridge.
We've traced the events of that day, the witness accounts, the specific finding of the inquest that slip, the heel giving way.
And the aftermath, the personal grief, the community reaction, the calls for awareness.
So what this deep dive into the sources gives you, listening, is, a very human story about risk. How inherent it is in these adventurous activities, even for people who know what they're doing.
And how suddenly things can change, how unforgiving that kind of environment can be.
Which leaves you with a really challenging thought, prompted directly by these sources. Maria was experienced. She knew Tryfan. The official finding wasn't about a lack of skill, but an accidental slip of heel giving way on steep ground. So how does that make you think about risk on places like these notorious ridges? If experience is crucial, but a single, almost mundane physical slip can still lead to tragedy because the environment is so severe. Well, what does that tell us?
It really highlights that thin line, doesn't it, between skill, preparation, and just circumstance, chance almost.
Yeah.
In places where the margins for error are tiny.
Exactly. It's something the sources implicitly raise. A tough question about the nature of risk in these inherently dangerous but often beautiful places.
Definitely food for thought. Thank you for exploring these sources with us today.
What safety precautions should experienced climbers take even when climbing familiar routes like Tryfan? Don't forget to comment it. Thanks.